Who got snubbed on the Philadelphia 76ers? I do not think Tyrese Maxey did. Let's break it down right here on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Locked On 76ers, your home for all things Philadelphia 76ers, only on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're watching us on YouTube or listening wherever you listen to podcasts, you can also catch us with our free daily newsletter for all things around the trade deadline, All-Star snubs, looking at the games ahead and everything in between. So make sure you go check that out today. And Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Make sure you download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. On this show, I do not believe that Tyrese Maxey got snubbed from the All-Star game. I will break down my reasoning, and I would love to hear from everybody what you think. I know Sixers fans are probably going to disagree with me. In addition, the preview to the Nuggets and the 76ers coming up in just about an hour, and then a look ahead towards the rest of their schedule. All right, so Tyrese Maxey did not get snubbed from the All-Star game. Is Tyrese Maxey a better player than Tyler Hero? Yes, but let me give my reasoning, and then you guys can fight me out in the comments because I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this one. So Tyler Hero was the one player when I looked at the East Reserve saying, all right, really, did he actually make the All-Star game over players like Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey, so on and so forth? Now, the numbers are pretty similar when we're comparing Hero and Tyrese Maxey because that's the only player I think that possibly people might agree, might disagree as well, but I do think that's the only player you can make an argument for of Tyrese Maxey going in instead of. Now, Hero averages 24.1 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 5.4 assists, and 47.4% from the field. Tyrese Maxey, on the other end, a little bit better numbers, especially in that scoring realm as well. 27.1 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 6 assists per game, and 43.8 field goal percentage. Now, Maxey has 12 consecutive games with 28 points or more. So when you look at that, and Nick Nurse did go out on a limb and say Tyrese Maxey should be an all-star with those numbers. Those numbers say something if his team wasn't in 11th place. And that's what the NBA is looking at. I am completely convinced. Because if you're looking at player versus player and you're taking teams out of it, yes, Tyrese Maxey should be in over Tyler Hero. But that's not what the NBA is looking at. And that's why I do not think he got snubbed. Also, Tyrese Maxey, he just started these last 2 games finally getting to the form that a lot of people thought that he could be and that he would have to be this season. Earlier on, his shot selection was a little bit shaky. He did have a minor injury as well to that hamstring earlier on in the season. And the team has just been horrible up until this point, if I'm going to be real with you all. So Tyrese Maxey, the thing you look at too is that Maxey is on the Sixers, of course, only in 11th place. Out of that play-in picture right now, if the season were to end today, they would get eliminated from any type of playoff contention. The Hawks, they are in 9th. So Trae Young was also in conversation of, oh, maybe he should have been in over Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero gets in because all their numbers are pretty similar, and the Heat are in 6th place right now. And there's a lot of drama surrounding Jimmy Butler. I mean, I'm just going to be real. There's a lot of drama. That's what the NBA looks for, and it's his first All-Star selection ever. So the NBA pushing Tyler Hero to be there. Now, if I'm going one-on-one, I'm taking Tyrese Maxey any day of the week. Is Tyrese Maxey a better overall player? Yes. Has he proven that throughout his career? Absolutely. But at the same time, when you're looking at before the last 4 games for the Philadelphia 76ers, yes, Tyrese Maxey has been the only player that has really been having fans and having everybody kind of still stay with the 76ers. I do understand that, but he has struggled in the beginning of the season, and people are finally saying, wow, this is the Tyrese Maxey that everybody has been waiting for. So I'm going to pull up the graphic right here of the All-Star selections right now when you look at it. Let me know in the comments if there's any surprises. We're looking at the starters too. I mean, it's pretty much what I expected. You look at Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, and Kat as well for the East starters. And then the West starters, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic. I think those starters are pretty fair when you're looking at the East and the West side. Now, let me know in the comments if you disagree with that. As for reserves, as I alluded to before, I do believe that the only place that Tyrese Maxey could have possibly fit in there was where Tyler Hero was. Yes, Tyrese Maxey is a better overall player, but when you're looking at numbers, when you're looking at the team overall, and when you say, okay, well, Tyrese Maxey, Trae Young, and Tyler Hero are probably all getting some push and some noms for getting into this All-Star weekend. Is the tiebreaker the overall record? Because that's easily going to go to Tyler Hero. And that's exactly who they're looking at right now. But Tyrese Maxey, the one thing I love about how he's playing right now, there's conversations about this team tanking. There's conversations about them not even making the playoffs, that it's Joel Embiid's team. He's not coming back. And Tyrese Maxey says, all right, well, you want to snub me from the All-Star game? You want to call our team a tanking disaster? I'm going to show up and I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to play basketball. And I alluded to this in the last episode of Locked On 76ers, but he did go on record in the post-game press conference and say that, his dad and his mom both said, listen, you're not yourself. You're not happy. You're not playing like yourself. What is going on there? And Tyrese Maxey basically said, I am not happy right now. I'm not playing well. I'm not playing good. I'm not playing to my standard. And that's when it kind of flipped the switch a little bit. So I think it's tough when you look at it for the Philadelphia 76ers. It's been quite some time since we haven't seen any 76er in the All-Star game. You look at all the years Joel Embiid was in it, the years him and Ben Simmons were in it as well. Of course, Joel not making it this year due to him not playing this season, really. But it is kind of crazy when you look back at it for the Philadelphia 76ers. This is the first year since 2017 that Philly does not have any All-Star selection. So it's been quite some time, and we're not going to see anybody at All-Star weekend, but I like it because how many times has everybody said, don't play those guys at All-Star weekend? They're going to get hurt. They're going to get injured, everything in between. Well, now you don't got to worry about it. Now they can just really focus on the season. And this is kind of what you need to wrangle the team. You need that extra time. You need guys to get some rest as well. So I don't think that he got snubbed. And I know people are going to disagree with me to that. But I do think when you look at those numbers, they're a little bit similar. And the shooting percentage for Tyrese Maxey wasn't at a high clip, especially early on in the season. Tyler Hero, he has a better overall record for his team. Is Tyrese Maxey more important to the 76ers than Tyler Hero? Absolutely. But at the same time, that's what the NBA is looking at right now. A little change in scenery, too. I know some people are going to be like, oh, where are you at? I'm in my radio booth right now. So that's due to the change of scenery. But going back to the All-Star selections, I'm really curious to see the new layout this year, how it will go, and how the 76ers will respond after All-Star weekend. Now, the trade deadline, of course, is just a few days away, too. So the 76ers, they might be making some moves here, shipping some guys off. I know there's been a lot of conversation on Twitter, and I'm aware of 76ers fans loving Yabusele, and, Eric Gordon's been playing good as of late. But realistically, the only player that is untradeable right now, of course, is Joel Embiid to them, but the one actually playing is Tyrese Maxey. Yes, he did get snubbed from the All-Star game, but he is still one of the vocal pieces and a centerpiece of the Philadelphia 76ers. So no, Tyrese Maxey, my takeaway is that he did not get snubbed from the All-Star game, but I think this is good. I think this is going to push him to be even better and better. So we will wait and see if Tyrese Maxey kind of steps up to the challenge, because he already has. The 76ers coming off 4 straight wins. Can they make it 5 tonight? Don't go anywhere. We're going to break that down right here on Locked On 76ers in just a moment. And this is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes is waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. And then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert will find you every deduction possible and file every form as well. Every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guarantee. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com, only available with TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates with only an iOS mobile app as well. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Once again, TurboTax.com/guarantees. You will not want to miss it, so make sure you go check it out today. In just about an hour, people, we're going to have the tip-off of the Denver Nuggets and the Philadelphia 76ers. And no, it's not one that's going to go down in history of a Jokic and an Embiid battle, but it still is going to be an interesting game. So what I'm looking at here is the Nuggets completely clamped the Sixers last time out, 144-109. But I'm specifically looking at Gershon Yabusele. Now, two things here. And I know the trade value of him keeps skyrocketing. If Gershon has a good game here tonight, there is a good chance that he will be shipped off at the trade deadline if Daryl Morey is trying to get some pieces in. And I know 76ers fans, they don't want to see him go. They like how he plays, and I do too. I think he fits in well. I think he's been one of the most consistent players for the Philadelphia 76ers all season. But Gershon keeps playing well. Teams are going to be intrigued on what he's able to do. And at this point, Daryl Morey, I think he is looking to make some moves right now, whether it's just shipping people off and kind of shutting down the season or trying to get some other pieces that he thinks might fit in well with the Philadelphia 76ers. So Gershon Yabusele, he was kind of the standout in terms of the bigs in the last game against Denver. He had 22 points on 13 shots as well. And when you look at this matchup, I mean, this is going to be tough for Philadelphia, right? Right now in this current lineup that they've had the last few games, they don't have one guy really over 6'8". Yabusele and Dembona are your centers. And the hard thing for Philadelphia is Aaron Gordon is returning to the lineup. He returned on Wednesday as well, logged his first 30-minute in over a month, had 6 rebounds, but you're looking at Nikola Jokic and Gordon in the middle. That's going to be a really tough task for the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, on the flip side for Philly, the one big thing that you can look at is Denver has been in a little bit of a slump right now. They've dropped 3 straight to the Timberwolves, the Bulls, and the Knicks, and those are tough teams to play against, but hear me out. The 76ers did just beat the Bulls, right? And that's when Paul George got that injury halfway throughout the game and had to be basically sidelined throughout the rest of that game. Now, I'm not saying, both of those things are completely relevant because Denver lost to the Bulls. That means the 76ers are going to beat down on Denver. No, that's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, the 76ers have been able to do a lot of things. I do think here tonight, though, their luck does run out just a little bit. I do think it's going to be a close game, though. Once again, Tyrese Maxey with that chip on his shoulder. I think that a lot of teams are looking at Gershon Yabusele, and I don't know if he's necessarily like, oh, every team's going to want me. Let's go. I'm a good piece. But he's going to step up, and he's going to have another big game as he looks to be consistent and continue to do that as well. In this game, too, I'm looking at the veteran leadership. I'm looking at Kyle Lowry. I'm looking at Eric Gordon, too, because Eric Gordon has brought us back some years throughout his performances as of late with the Philadelphia 76ers. Kyle Lowry really played one of his best games throughout this season in that last matchup as well, especially just being a pest on the defensive side of things. So I think it is important to look at that stuff if you're Philadelphia right now. But their height is really going to hurt them in this game. Aaron Gordon coming in, and he's not necessarily the Aaron Gordon of the past either, but the 76ers just don't have anybody to match up with him, and they definitely don't have anybody to match up with Nikola Jokic. So it's going to be an interesting night for Philadelphia as well. And Nick Nurse just making some conversation around Joel Embiid, and he just dropped this as well. Nick Nurse says Joel Embiid's knee is feeling pretty good right now, and that's the hope is on tomorrow's court on session, goes ahead and goes and see what happens. Then we'll have a really good idea where he's at as well. So tomorrow just kind of looking like a practice day, should be an indicator to see where George and Embiid are kind of moving forward. And we're going to see if Paul George does go through a full practice with the split and bandaging on that finger as well. For Embiid, it's to test the knee 5-on-5 in practice before they return. That's going to be extremely, extremely important for the 76ers going forward. Not only that, in addition, though, what Daryl Morey will do with this team, because if Embiid and Paul George are able to come back, you have until February 6th at that trade deadline to make some moves. So will the 76ers go out there and try to trade some pieces? What I think right now, not to get away from the matchup, but just to touch on this really quick as well, is that the 76ers don't necessarily have anybody that they're going to be able to ship off and get a lot back for. I just don't see that happening. The only thing that I could see the 76ers doing in this crazy world of Philadelphia is somehow bringing Jimmy Butler back. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No. Would it be absolutely insane? Yes. And that's only if there's a world that Miami would do a Paul George and Jimmy Butler swap. But I don't think that realistically is going to happen, people. Nevertheless, it does look like Joel Embiid and Paul George are making their way back to the court. The 76ers are in a position where they look like they're not really able to tank just because of the Wizards and other teams below them that are not going to allow the 76ers to lose more games than them. And because the Eastern Conference, once again, is just not super competitive. They're at 11th. They're at the outside looking in. If they can get above the Bulls, all of a sudden they're in playing contention. They can get into the playoffs, probably get knocked out of the first round, but at least they're still getting into the playoffs for this team. But on this matchup tonight, I have the 76ers falling. I'm going to give a final score. I think it'll be a high scoring game. I'm going to go 121 to 114 in favor of Denver. Nikola Jokic is a walking triple double, so I expect him to do the same here tonight. In addition, Tyrese Maxey, I think, is going to put up another 30 piece, keep that consecutive streak going, prove people wrong, Tyrese Maxey, and show people why you should have been an all-star. But at the same time, I think the bigs on the Denver Nuggets are just a little bit too much for the Philadelphia 76ers here tonight, and I think that can hurt them as well. When we come back, we're going to look ahead a little bit at the remaining schedule. We'll talk more about Joel Embiid and Paul George and who's to blame for the roster construction a little bit. Are we looking at the top down? Is it Daryl Morey? Is it Nick Nurse? We're going to wait and see in just a moment right here on Locked On 76ers. And the big game is not too far away. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Make sure you add everything that you want to put in there. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. I always love when you can bet on the Gatorade color because I never really know. I kind of just throw a bet out there. But what I do know is the lines of the over-under, who I think will win right now. FanDuel also has the Kansas City Chiefs over under, looking at that as well by -1.5. So they have Kansas City winning this game on a very small margin too. Download the app or head to fanduel.com to get started. Bet just $5. And if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. It's going to be a good one between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles, so you will not want to miss it. Make sure you go check out FanDuel today. All right, so we alluded to Paul George being day-to-day in addition to Joel Embiid. They're really going to reevaluate him in terms of practice when he does some 5-on-5. That's what they're looking at right now. So when you look at the roster construction of the Philadelphia 76ers, and I've had this conversation a lot as late, and I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. But I do think it's interesting that a lot of people put the blame on Daryl Morey, and I totally get it. But I do think it starts from the top up, and this is no disrespect to Josh Harris, but that man is owning 3 teams right now, and I know the Harris Blitzer is kind of combined with the Philadelphia 76ers with the Devils, and in addition to Philadelphia, but also with the Commanders as well. He's putting a big push. That's a really fantastic team, everything in between. But at the same time, I mean, the 76ers, it starts from the top up. Now, granted, Daryl Morey bringing Paul George in, you have to go with veteran players that don't ask for a lot of money. That's the reality of the situation. That's what you're going to get when you bring in 3 superstars. My biggest problem with the Philadelphia 76ers is when things don't pan out, they kind of freak out a little bit. Let me explain my theory here. When the Boston Celtics won the NBA Finals, it was because they built around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They got young players. They got players around them. They believed in one unit, and that unit carried them all the way and was able to build together. Now, there was kind of a panic a little bit when the unit you thought you were going to build around was Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and clearly Ben Simmons didn't work out for this team. So all of a sudden, it's all right, push this star, push that star, push it through. And I think the biggest thing was when you look at that Raptors season, of course, the Kawhi quadruple doink, and that sent them eventually to be NBA champions. You look at that team, you see a squad of JJ Redick on that squad as well, Jimmy Butler, in addition to Joel Embiid, in addition to Ben Simmons too. Didn't really have much of a bench, but then you automatically say to yourself, okay, is this a complete stars team that you just need to fill with stars after star after star after star? And I do think that the game has changed a little bit. Now, it's too late to me to build around Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid and wait for this unit to grow, because Joel Embiid just doesn't have that much time left in his prime. This was something you might want to do a little back before. They're trying to push on stars, more stars, and more stars. And don't get me wrong, I love how Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry played in that last game. Realistically, I don't see that happening, especially in the playoffs. If those guys do stay on the Philadelphia 76ers and kind of pass that trade deadline, I don't see those guys lighting it up game after game in these series in the playoffs, if that's what the Philadelphia 76ers get. You even look at the New York Knicks, they have so many other guys that can fill in so many gaps. And I think the 76ers, honestly, they kind of dropped the ball on that. So when you're looking at a grading standpoint of this roster construction, I give Daryl Morey a B minus. I'm not going to be as hard on him as many people because I just feel that you're in a situation where you're essentially building around Joel Embiid. And when you're building around Joel Embiid, you're looking ahead to the prime years. And then every year after that, you're saying, okay, well, Joel Embiid doesn't have a lot of time left. They're not going to come out and say that. But at the same time, you're just trying to push these superstars in there and you're not building a team around him because Ben Simmons didn't work out. And that was the team you were supposed to build around. So at the same time, I'm not going to put as much blame on Daryl Morey as much as I would put from the top down. But the roster is a little bit interesting with the vets. And I'm going to say going forward, they need to ride the youth a little bit, especially if these guys end up surviving the trade deadline and throughout the season as well. You look at guys like Justin Edwards, rookie counsel, the guys that can get up and down the floor, Garshani Abusele as well, coming out there and just being so consistent, having a big impact in this season overall. I think those guys you need to rely on a little bit more and then let the vets pop when they are popping. I can't stand like Nick Nurse is putting Kyle Lowry on the floor just a little bit too much rather than I would like to see him. But when he is playing well, ride that, utilize that, go for that, like we saw in that last game. But that's not going to happen all the time. Kyle Lowry is older. He's a veteran. He's not going to have that 24/7. So when he doesn't, don't just say, okay, well, we'll see it soon. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to see it soon. You need to ride the youth. And that's what I look ahead for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that's something that they need to continue to do because it has been successful for them as of late as well. So the 76ers, of course, tonight they take on the Denver Nuggets. They're on a 4-game win streak. They can have their biggest win streak of the season if they end up defeating Denver tonight. I gave my prediction earlier in the episode. I just do not think they will. Then they take on the Celtics. Then they take on the Mavs. Then they take on the Heat. I will say the only advantage is that these games are at home for Philadelphia. And it's interesting, too, because that Heat game is right before the trade deadline. That's February 5th. And then February 7th, they have a game as well. So this is going to get dicey. This is going to get fun for the Philadelphia 76ers and the NBA as a whole. The trade deadline, I'm always scrolling every 5 seconds to make sure we'll be hopping on Locked On 76ers if there's any big trades, especially regarding Philadelphia. So looking ahead for this team, I think one advantage they do have is what we just heard from Nick Nurse a moment ago, that Paul George is day to day. They're looking on, keeping evaluating Joel Embiid. They're not ruling him out completely. So there is some hope there when you're looking at this team. And they have home court advantage coming up in these next few contests. Now, I might change my opinion here after this Denver game and see how the 76ers are able to show up. Tyrese Maxey with a chip on his shoulder right now, trying to show everybody why he should be an all-star. I still don't think he got snobbed, people, but he definitely is an all-star caliber player. That is for sure. With the Philadelphia 76ers, they are in action in just about an hour at 7:30 p.m. A little bit of a pre-game all-star breakdown show right here on Locked On 76ers. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the game, and we will see you all after.